The war lasted 4 years, 3 months, and 2 weeks. The first attempt to assassinate Archduke Franz Ferdinand failed. The Austro-Hungarian Archduke was only successfully assassinated because his driver made a wrong turn. World War I brought 4 empires to ruin. These were the German, Russian, Ottoman, and Austro-Hungarian empires. World War I is responsible for one of the highest number of casualties in the history of humanity. The First World War caused 9.7 million soldiers and 11 million civilians to die, with an additional 21 million people injured. The Red Zone in France remains unsuitable for living more than 100 years after the war ended. French and Belgian farmers dig up weapons from World War I every year. It's estimated that 1 in 4 shells fired during the First World War failed to detonate. Chapel Street is called the bravest little street in England for its residents' courage in World War I. The British and later the Germans built fake trees during the war to spy on enemy troops. The British built the first armored tanks used in the First World War. The first army tanks used in the war had genders. Making weapons used in World War I caused some British women and their babies to get yellow skin. The toxic chemicals used in the bomb factories caused them to develop liver damage and jaundice, which turned their skin yellow. American schools banned the German language during the First World War. The British Postal Service delivered 12 million letters each week to the World War I front lines. Scottish bagpipers led the charge into German trenches. Air traffic control was invented during the First World War. The French used darts as a lethal weapon against their enemies in the First World War. Over 35,000 miles of trenches were dug during World War I. World War I Allied forces used glowworms to light up the trenches. The youngest soldier to fight in World War I was just 8 years old. The last verified World War I soldier died in 2011. Claude Schul of the British Navy served as a naval officer on the battleship Revenge during World War I and returned to fight again in the Second World War. The London Tube helped shelter people from terrifying World War I German air raids. Shell shock was mistaken for cowardice during World War I. The degree of injuries soldiers sustained in the First World War led to the development of plastic surgery. World War I field nurses inspired disposable sanitary pads. Nurses treating wounded soldiers at the front also used surgical dressings made from a new material, Sella cotton, for their menstrual cycle. The First World War was the first time poison gas was used in combat. Throughout the First World War, the British and American military planted a staggering 72,000 mines in the ocean. France designed a fake Paris to trick German World War I pilots. Tolkien started writing his fantasy novels while serving as a British soldier in World War I. Marie Curie tried to support the war by donating her Nobel Prize gold medals. The USS Texas is the last surviving Dreadnought-class ship from World War I. The Titanic's sister ships, the Olympic and Britannic, served in the First World War. Sir Adrian Carton de Wyatt, who fought in World War I and other conflicts, was nicknamed the Unkillable Soldier. The First World War I gas masks were simply urine-soaked rags. Approximately 25% of U.S. World War I recruits failed the basic literacy test required to join the army. The Battle of Osowiec Fortress, also called the Attack of the Dead Men, was one of WWI's most horrifying clashes. German and Russian soldiers fighting in World War I formed a temporary alliance against wolves. Germany lost the most soldiers in World War I, while Turkey lost the most civilians. The British Army had a special battalion for short men during the First World War. Some World War I soldiers got tattoos for identification. The American military made ships out of concrete because steel was scarce in World War I. Russia set up an all-female military unit during World War I. Germany's sinking of the RMS Lusitania led to the U.S. joining World War I. German submarines sank a total of 6,394 ships throughout World War I.